Sports bar next to campus at University Commons. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Ben Joyce kicks and delivers. Strike three!
Rock Solid Sports, the only show with a home field advantage for UT Athletics. Here's tonight's host.
Welcome into Rock Solid Sports. It is Wednesday night, and we are happy to be here. I'm at Fieldhouse Social, as you can tell here in the background. Our sponsor for tonight, I'm Chloe. We got on StreamYard Devin and Jaquez, and back at the studio producing, we have Griffin. Happy to have all them on here tonight during this winter break. Happy to have Griffin back in town as well, and happy to have all you guys back in town here in just a few weeks too. Rock Solid Sports Wednesday night show is sponsored by Fieldhouse Social at 2525 University Commons Way. We thank them for their support. American craft food, beer, and cocktails, a 21-foot digital big screen TV indoors that you can kind of see behind me, and a back patio, open at 11 a.m. Wednesdays through Sundays, closed on Mondays, and they're open back again with regular hours on Tuesdays. And we have a lot to cover right now. First of all, we'll get into football really quick. Just want to say, how are you guys doing? What's up? How'd your New Year's go? Etc. Etc.
Yeah, thanks, Chloe. Super happy to be back in Knoxville, and what a day on Monday we had of football. I mean, as far as college football goes, can't wait to get into it with you guys. Vols played early, and then we had the college football playoff as well, and that's the highlight of my New Year's Day. I'll tell you, I was watching football all day, just lots of surprises, lots of eyebrow raisers there out of the college football committee. And I will say they take a lot of heat. The college football committee takes a lot of heat, but somehow, some way, it always delivers in some way with exciting games, and that's what we got on Monday.
Yeah, I think the committee absolutely made the right choice. If you look at how the matchups went, I think nobody can complain about how they did. All four of those teams were clearly the four best teams in the country. But yeah, my New Year's Day went fantastic. My girlfriend Allison and I, we traveled to Orlando. We were at the Citrus Bowl. Orlando's such a cool city, so much fun. Of course, to see the Vols dominate like that was just amazing. I was really, really impressed with the game, the atmosphere, and how many Vols fans showed up. I really think it was like 75% Tennessee. I mean, Iowa had a good section, don't get me wrong, but I think it was like 70, maybe 75% Tennessee fans. So we really showed out and just were awesome.
Yeah, I got an opportunity to have a great New Year's Eve. Got an opportunity to sit down and watch football with my friend and get to learn defense from a different side, from an NFL point of view, like why do they do this and this and this and this. So New Year's was great, and I'm just excited to be back on with y'all for another Wednesday on WTK Rock Solid Sports.
Yeah, and thanks everyone for joining us. Devin said there were a lot of Vol fans there for sure. We'll start with that. Not too much time on this, obviously, because Monday's show was able to talk about this because at this point the game was over on Monday. But yeah, the Vols definitely looked good versus Iowa. Hey, and on your point about the Vols fans, we did win the fourth quarter song competition. So
Yes.
They also played Iowa's because I think they felt bad because Iowa was losing so bad, but was nothing like Friends in Low Places, which was definitely way better. Anyways, Tennessee dominates Iowa in the Citrus Bowl 35-0. Nico Yamaliava gets to start after Joe Milton opts out of this game to declare for the NFL draft. And yeah, what a great day Nico had. I think that everyone was definitely felt that his performance was very much satisfactory, at least in this game. James Pierce also definitely had a great game. Dylan Sampson, as well as as Devin has pointed out here on the doc. Nico was the MVP of this game. I think that there was no argument for that choice at the end of the game in the Citrus Cheez-It Bowl. And it was definitely a really, I think that Tennessee definitely made a very good point in this game as they are undefeated in 2024 and proved that they, there's a lot of excitement to come. This game, if anything, was showing that the future looks bright for this team, I think, what are your guys' main takeaway from this Vols game before we jump into college football playoffs?
I think that's the number one thing, Chloe. Exactly what you said there last is that this is a preview. This is a preview of what Tennessee could look like next year. This is a preview of what Nico could look like next year, as well as Dylan Sampson taking over the role as RB1. Obviously, we sung Jalen Wright's praises all year long. Riley and Jack talked about Jalen Wright every single time on that Friday show when we were talking football. But this is this new age team where Heupel's recruiting classes are starting to turn over. It's not just old recruiting classes plus a couple of Heupel guys. It's starting to become this team is Heupel's team and this coaching staff's team and his recruiting classes. And that's super exciting because he's recruiting guys to fit his system. And we saw that with Nico. We saw it with Dylan Sampson. And we see it with guys coming in the portal. That's my biggest takeaway is this is a preview of what this team could look like, especially with a great spring camp, a great summer camp. It's really exciting to see what this team could do. As far as the Iowa game, they shut them down. And when I think about the way the high-tempo offense dealt with, or Iowa had to deal with that high-tempo offense, both Iowa and Penn State didn't know what hit them. Ole Miss and Tennessee run that high-tempo offense, guys, and they couldn't handle it. The Big Ten teams are not accustomed to that. So that was a big eye-opener in those two games, and that's what I saw from Tennessee, and job well done for Heupel and his crew.
Yeah, and the other key thing I want people to keep in mind about this game was there's been a lot of opt-outs and a lot of transfer portal chaos. However, that Iowa Hawkeyes team was basically the exact same Iowa Hawkeyes team they had this whole season. Nobody opted out on Iowa. All their star players played, with the exception of Cooper DeJean, only because he's injured. But besides that, Tennessee was the team that had major opt-outs. Iowa had 0 major opt-outs, and Tennessee still dominated them. Extremely impressive win against a really good Iowa Hawkeyes team. Look, their offense is embarrassing, but that defense is legit. And to score that many points, super impressive against one of the best defenses in the country. And this is what Tennessee desperately needed as the SEC, gosh, with Texas coming in, Oklahoma coming in, it's going to get so insanely tough. I mean, right now, if you look at the SEC projections, even with how impressive Tennessee has looked, they're still projected to be in the middle of the conference just because of how good it is with teams like Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama. It's going to be a gauntlet, but this was a major statement win, and Tennessee looks like they could have all the pieces together to potentially compete for an SEC championship and a playoff spot next year.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this Tennessee team did not skip a beat at all. You got Nico coming in and playing like a 5-star quarterback as he's already presented when he first came in. Like I said, a lot of people was worried about, can Nico turn around and get this team and get the ball rolling? I think Nico did everything that he needed to do as a quarterback to show the world and to show the Vols fans that Tennessee is still going to be a good team. One thing I did like about Nico was he found running lanes, right? Right now it's nice because we're not facing, well, evidently Iowa was supposed to be a top 10 team in college football defensive wise. But one thing I like about Nico is he found running rooms. Now, when the pocket collapse as a quarterback, you have to know how to run. So that's one thing I know the Vols liked about Nico is he put one touchdown, one running lane touchdown, and every time he found a running lane, it was wide open. One of the things that I feel like one of the things I felt like that he would need to mature in is being able to be a little bit patient in the pocket and be able to go through all his progressions and reads, right? He's still young. He still has time, but I think this Tennessee team is going to be a great team looking forward to the future. And I love Sampson at running back. I think he's going to be a big time running back for the Vols as time goes. He's very explosive. He just need to put on a little bit of weight so he can take on that contact with the linebackers. But I think this Vols team has a chance of making it a good stride next year in college football.
Yeah, absolutely. And if those are, the few, not complaints, but definitely things that can be improved upon, right? There's a whole off season. Yeah, I got to be honest. I was nervous about Nico starting too. Not that, I'm confident in his ability, but I felt like he needed more time, but he showed us that with this Iowa team, he did not. I guess something I was nervous about was when it comes to Joe Milton, something that we've been not spoiled with, but haven't really thought about is Joe Milton is someone that you're like, oh crap, if the pocket collapses, but you're not like, oh gosh, like I'm scared that he is going to get hurt because something about Joe is like he's indestructible, and I feel like for the past season we've really there's been no there when it comes to Joe Milton, there's been no question. We've seen situations where he's pushed down defenders to get past them when he's running with the ball. But Nico, I was a little bit worried about in that situation. Thought he might be a little bit more fragile, but he showed that he can run, and he definitely, I think, can improve upon that as well, and has the ability to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league next year. So I'm super excited for that. We'll move on to college football playoffs really quick. We'll start with the first game that was on New Year's Day, Michigan and Alabama. I think a lot of people thought, including myself included, that if Alabama gets to the college football playoffs, they're going to just win it all or at least be in the finals. No, that is not what happened. However, this was a very good game. Could have gone either way. I think we saw, like Devin said, that the committee made the right choice, right, with Alabama being in it. Alabama is, they can hang with these top teams. Michigan is a team that a lot of people said, did not play a lot of people this year. I personally was happy to see Michigan in the playoffs. I was happy to see Michigan win because I think that Michigan is a team that was good and that does live up to their hype. I mean, people say they haven't played a lot of teams. They did, but it's just they don't have a lot of hard teams in that conference, right? They beat Penn State, they beat Iowa, but at the end of the day, I just thought that Michigan, by how much they beat those, I knew that Michigan deserved to be in the top 4, or I felt like they did. So I was happy to see Michigan win this one. I think JJ McCarthy's a good quarterback. But anyways, moving on to the Rose Bowl, 27-20 in overtime. Alabama could not score in their chance to score on overtime, so Michigan wins. However, I did think Alabama was going to come back and do it right there because that's just what they do, but they didn't. Alabama's O-line didn't have too good of a day. Milroe took some sacks there, especially in the first half. So overall, thriller for sure. Your guys' thoughts on Michigan versus Alabama overall on New Year's Day in the Rose Bowl?
I think the most surprising thing was when you get to this game and you see that Alabama's up 7 points with, 3 minutes to go, and J.J. McCarthy has only led his team to one fourth quarter comeback in his entire career. You see those stats on your screen on ESPN, and you're like, no way. The Tide aren't going to lose this one. But the shocking thing was the Tide ran out of magic. And what I saw is that you go back to the last game of the season in the Iron Bowl, where they got the 4th and 30+ back of the end zone fade. It just seemed like everything was working out for the Tide. They were building momentum. They're so much better than they were at the beginning of the year, but Michigan proved to have more grit. And the crazy part is that J.J. McCarthy and Blake Corum did exactly what they needed to do at the end of the game. The coaching was really, really good at the end of the game for the Michigan Wolverines, and they had the right play calls at the end of that game. I mean, Michigan goes for a 4th and 3 with 3 minutes to go, and they pick it up with one of the best plays in the book. And that was super impressive because it seems like a Saban team would be able to navigate that situational football, and Michigan did it better. And when you get to the end of the overtime period, Alabama's 4th and goal, backs against the wall. Jalen Milroe shaking in his boots. I mean, the snaps were all over the place. It happened 4 or 5 times, I swear, where the snap was low, the snap was to the left, the snap was on the ground, and that was the kryptonite for Alabama, and Michigan got it done. They made less mistakes, and I think that's why Michigan's in the college football championship.
Yeah, I just want to say Michigan's team was extremely impressive, and they proved a lot of haters, a lot of doubters wrong. Really, they honestly, the score is closer than I think how the game actually went. I think Michigan really outplayed Alabama and outcoached Alabama in this one. You got to keep in mind, Michigan had 2 muffed return opportunities, one of them that they dropped, and then one of them where they ended up stuck on their own 1-yard line. So massive mistakes from the Wolverines that could have prevented this game from being a lot larger in score, but they still get the job done. McCarthy has one of his best games, over 200 yards and 3 passing touchdowns. And again, really lucked out at the beginning of the game with that first play not being an interception. But at the end of the day, Nick Saban did one of his best coaching jobs this year. I mean, when you look at how Alabama started, they were not that good. Milroe had a lot of issues, and yet you look at how they finished at the end of the season, their only 2 losses were to the number 1 team and the number 3 team in the country. That's pretty darn good still. And they beat number 1 ranked Georgia that hadn't lost in 2 years. So Alabama's still an absolutely elite team. Saban is still one of the best coaches in the country. But I was very happy, of course, to see Michigan win. Anytime Tennessee wins and Alabama loses on the same day, that is an amazing day right there. And I can't wait for this national championship. It's going to be an absolute thriller once again.
I totally agree. Y'all both, every last one of y'all said it best. Michigan looked like the dominant team. I was not expecting Michigan to come out and play like this. When Michigan came out and played like this, and they was running all these different stunts and blitzes, and a linebacker that made Milroe uncomfortable. I'm telling you, Milroe cannot get comfortable to save his life through this whole game. And I think Jim Harbaugh did a great job of making him read fast, because as a quarterback, you got to go through progressions. I think this whole game, Jim Harbaugh game plan was we need to make him uncomfortable while he's back that quarterback, and I think he did a great job at that. And I think Michigan as a team, they look good. They look real good.
And I'll jump back in real quick because Jaquez, I think you bring up a really good point. It's almost like Milroe and Alabama throughout the season. I know everybody here watched a lot of Alabama football. They played down to their competition. I think the one game where they didn't is where they kind of took off and they beat Georgia. All the other games, whether it was playing against USF and Alex Galesh in Southern Florida, or whether it was Auburn in the Iron Bowl, I feel like Alabama kept winning games, but it's almost like they were playing down to their competition, even against Tennessee in the first half, right? Mm-hmm. Letting Tennessee take off, having to come back, and then doing their thing. And it's like when you're playing the number one team in the country, and like you said, I think it surprised a lot of people the way Michigan came out swinging with a swagger and a confidence to them. And I think that's what did it at the end of the game. And I think that was just so impressive because I was one of those Alabama believers thinking, man, if they get in, I think they're going to do some damage in the playoff. Michigan proved me wrong, and that was a big time win.
Yeah. And one other,
no, go ahead. You got it.
I was just going to say one other interesting point real quick, and then I'll let you go. But that center for Alabama who was snapping the ball all over the place, he has now entered the transfer portal following this game that was announced today. So they're going to have to get a new center after that. And also fascinating fact, this was the last year of the 4-team playoff, and strangely enough, it ended exactly the same way as the first year of the 4-team playoff, without an SEC team in the national championship, breaking a 9-year streak of that. And it's going to be Big Ten versus Pac-12, just like it was in the first year of the playoffs. So kind of a weird thing there. But anyways, yeah, I'll let you go there, Jaquez.
No, I was getting ready to say, we got to remember that Michigan has been back in the playoffs, right? The yes. past 3 times, and they got their butts beat every single time. I think this time, since Georgia wasn't in it, and they knew they had a decent, Alabama is not the same team they've been the past previous years, and Michigan thinks they could size up against Alabama at any given time this season. So I think, how you said, that swagger, and Michigan came in saying, we can ball with them. We don't have to worry about Georgia. The only team you telling me we got to beat is Alabama. Do you tell me we get to play Texas and Washington? Oh yeah, we finna turn it up. And I think Michigan and Jim Harbaugh team did exactly that to overcome Alabama.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with Griffin saying Alabama played down to their competition for sure. They had a lot of moments that I was like, ooh, yeesh. And it was kind of the opposite of Georgia, because Georgia would do that and then they would always get lucky in the end. Alabama, not so much. And we saw that in this one. They definitely were able to kind of go and run with that. Speaking of Washington and Texas, Washington wins in the Sugar Bowl against Texas, 37-31. They led pretty much the whole time. It was tied up at halftime, 21-21. However, Texas here at the end, if you watched this game, it was like that Alabama-Michigan game. You watched all the way to the end, because in the last few seconds, Texas totally could have scored, but they didn't. And right there, played till the very last second. Washington survives against Texas, but I feel like Washington was pretty dominant. I wouldn't want to say survive. It was still a very good game. Another point proven that these teams, this college football playoff, very even, very good choices by the committee. So even though we may have previously doubted, but yeah, Washington and Michigan, of course, in the national championship. We'll focus on the Washington-Texas game here for just a second before we do our predictions for the national championship, which will be played next week. This Washington-Texas, how do you think this game, the Sugar Bowl. How do you think that both of these teams fared? What mistakes did they make? What led to this Washington victory?
Okay, more fireworks in this semifinal game, which was so fun. I mean, 21-21, like super early in this one, back and forth battle. It was so fun to watch, and it was such a fun day of football, like I suggested early on in the show. But I will say that Michael Penix is unbelievable. And for the quarterback from Washington who transferred from IU, the lefty dealt with an ACL tear, and he hasn't missed a beat. And what he said post-game, guys, I haven't played my best game yet. I haven't played my best game yet. That's what he said. And so I love the confidence. I love the swagger of UW going into the championship game, because I think everybody was sleeping on Washington a little bit, me included. I think Washington, if anything, was, okay, they went undefeated. We'll put them in. And people were viewing them as, okay, they'll get beat by Texas, weren't even favored. And they really haven't been considered as the favorite. But I put them right up there with Michigan the way they played Monday night. I mean, they played some really impressive football, and Michael Penix was putting the ball on the money every single time, and their receivers were making incredible grabs. The chemistry between these guys, the way the offense was flowing was extremely impressive. I know they went up 10, and Texas kind of came back, but they controlled the narrative late and ended up winning the game, and I think that's why.
Yeah, and really, it bothers me, as to why this Washington team is constantly doubted. Because I get it, the Pac-12 typically is not very good, but you got to put it in context. This year, the Pac-12, in their last year, they all balled out. They all had some of their best seasons ever. And Washington had to beat a very good Utah team, a very good USC team, a very good Arizona team. Look at how good the Wildcats finished. Oregon twice, Oregon State on the road. I mean, the Huskies had to beat all these really good teams, and they were still put as the underdog. And even still, they're put as a 4.5-point underdog to Michigan on Monday. You said it, Griffin. I think Washington's right up there as the best, right up there with Michigan, very evenly matched. Both teams 14-0. The Huskies looked incredible. That running back, Dylan Johnson, showed a lot of grit. I know Jaquez is happy for his buddy there. And Johnson, he got hurt at the end of the game, almost cost the Huskies. But the current reports are that he is going to tough through it and play in the national championship, which just shows incredible toughness, leadership, grit, everything you'd want in an amazing running back. Dylan Johnson has it. And there's a reason why this Huskies offensive line won the Joe Moore Award as the best offensive line in the country. They create holes like you've never seen. And Texas had a problem with it now against Michigan. We talked about Michigan with all the sacks earlier. Washington's elite offensive line is going to go up against an elite front seven from the Wolverines, and that is going to be one of the best battles in the trenches, maybe of all time. It's going to be a historic battle down there at the line of scrimmage. But at the end of the day, the Huskies made a little bit less mistakes than Texas. This was another one where they could have definitely won by more. Texas only had a chance to win at the end only because of Johnson's injury and running into the punter at the very end, causing a penalty. All these weird lucky breaks Texas kept getting at the end. And fortunately, the Huskies were able to pull it off and are in the national championship.
Let me tell you something about Johnson. To your point about Johnson, that boy won't miss a game if they play an Austin penalty or Austin penalty. Let me tell you, because Johnson loves football. When I say he's not going to miss a game, like he's not going to miss a game. He's not going to miss a practice. He's going to find a way to win. And since he has an opportunity to play in the national championship, I know for a fact he's not missing a game. But to this Washington team, I think this Washington team is a really great team. I was a little surprised that Texas stuck with them this long because I really felt like Washington as a team should have really pulled further as the game went on. Michael Penix only missed 9 passes out of 38 attempts, and you tell me you throw 430 yards? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like that dude right there, he's the truth, I did think Dylan played a really great game, but I don't think he played his best game just yet. I mean, he had 21 carries for 49 yards, right? You have 21 carries, I think, my opinion, you should at least have over 100 yards. So I still think there's a lot of success in this Washington Huskies team, and I think that we are probably going to get the best of this Washington Huskies team in the national championship. And I think Michigan do not know what they got coming from, but I think this will be a good game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely super excited. So we got to talk about the game really quick. We'll do score predictions super quick. It's gonna be tough because I really can see this one going either way. I think all of us can. I'll start off. I'll pick Michigan. I say this is a close one though. I say this is a low scoring, close one. I'm gonna have to do Michigan. Let's do like 24-21 Michigan. You guys?
I like everything Jaquez is saying about them Huskies, man. I mean, they look so good. Michael Penix's so fun. I have a sweet spot for him because he played in my home state of Indiana there for a couple of years, and I just like the way they're playing. And I think if Michael Penix is telling the truth, if he hasn't played his best game yet, if they elevate their play, I think they can do it. I'm gonna go with UW. I'm gonna take the Huskies 31-28. Tightly contested, fantastic ball game, and I think it's going to be a fun one next week.
Yeah, I absolutely love this match. I mean, there's so much history between Michigan and Washington. This will be the 14th time they've played. They played each other in 4 Rose Bowls, and they won, and they split them. Each team won 2 of them. So in big games, they've been just about as even as it gets. They're about to be future conference rivals, both in the Big Ten next year. And so this is going to be an absolute thriller. I got the Huskies winning this one. I got to pick Washington to win this game. I'm a fan, so I got to pick them to win, go 15-0. Both teams 14-0 right now. Yeah, I'll say the Huskies win this game. I'll say 27-24. I think it's back and forth. Really amazing contest here. And that line of scrimmage, Huskies offensive line versus Michigan's defensive line, whichever one wins, that's ultimately going to determine the game. I got the Huskies offensive line winning this game for them, and Washington wins a thriller.
So we got the best Washington offense in college football, and we got one of the top defense that just played lights out against Alabama. I'm going 30-33 Washington, and I think it'd be a back and forth.
All right, there you have it. Those are some great predictions for sure. I think we all have them super close, so it's going to be a good game regardless. If there's one thing I'm confident in, it's going to be close. It's going to be a good game. We'll have ourselves a ball game to watch next Monday. We got to move on though. We'll talk about basketball. Number 5, Tennessee Vols. They are number 5 right now. It's SEC time in Tennessee. SEC basketball. A great time for sure this year. Also, Lady Vols coming up on that as well with their next game. So we'll talk about that. Stay tuned. You're listening to WTK 90.3 The Rock. This is Rock Solid Sports.
The Rock receives support from Fieldhouse Social, sports games paired with cold beers in reach in University Commons. Fieldhouse Social offers a diverse menu of tavern foods such as pulled pork nachos, the Fieldhouse Cobb salad, and the Applewood smoked chicken wings. Kick back and relax in the lounge. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Knoxville, be sure to tune in Wednesday nights from 8 until 10 p.m. for The Alternative, sponsored by Bliss and Corey Mason Shoes on Gate Street and at West Town Mall. And Bliss Home at the Gallery Shopping Center, also sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill, bar and live music venue in the heart of Knoxville's Old City. The Alternative features 2 hours of the best in Americana music from the station who first brought Knoxville music by bands from back in the alt-country days, like the Jayhawks, Uncle Tupelo, Steve Earle, and Jason and the Scorchers, to 90s Americana like the V-Roys, Whiskey Town, Lucinda Williams, Sunvold, and others, to modern-day Americana musicians like Molly Tuttle, Tyler Childers, Casey Musgrave, Sturgill Simpson, Billy Strings, and the Punch Brothers. You'll also get classic Americana like Johnny Cash, the band, and Emmylou Harris, and there's always Patsy Cline at 9. Tune in Wednesday nights at 8 for The Alternative. Sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill, Bliss Home, and Corey Mason Shoes, and only on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols basketball program for their support. Coach Kelly Harper and the Lady Vols 2023-2024 home schedule includes games against Notre Dame, Ohio State, SEC foes, and more. AllVols.com. Student ticket info is at bigorangetics.utk.edu. That's TIX. The Rock says, "Go Lady Vols."
Hey, this is Lydia, Brooke,
Drew,
and Janessa. And we're the Regrets. You're listening to 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
The Rock receives support from Cool Beans Bar and Grill, offering tabletop sports, outdoor seating, and trivia Tuesdays.
Open 11 a.m. to 3 a.m. 7 days a week on Lake Avenue between campus and the Strip, and the home of the Rock Solid Sports Monday Night Live broadcast fall and spring semesters. That's coolbeansbar.com.
The Rock thanks Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2023-24 home ice season from October through April includes games with Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets at KnoxvilleIceBears.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, go Ice Bears!
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from the UT Athletic Department. The 2024 baseball fall season runs February into May with games against SEC rivals Georgia, LSU, Missouri, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Allballs.com. Students need to show a valid ID at the gate before entrance. Tune into Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and The Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond this season.
Welcome back to Rock Solid Sports. It's Wednesday night. I'm Chloe on the show here with Dylan. Sorry, I keep saying Dylan. We had Dylan Becker on the other night to RSS alum to talk hockey. That was cool with Devin. We got Devin on here and Jaquez, and over at the back of the studio we have Griffin, and we are going to move into some college basketball talk here, my personal favorite. And we have the game we've all been discussing, the game we've all been talking about, because the only other game really was Norfolk State in between this Vols team for what felt like the longest time, which was Christmas break and SEC time. We'll talk about that briefly, though. Vols won 87-15. Nothing unexpected. Zakai Ziegler had a really good night. 17 points, 4 assists. Doing really good. Definitely recovered, I think we could say, because he's been having some good games here in a row. So Zakai is back, and I think that's great because we will definitely need him in these SEC games. We need all hands on deck. Connect followed with 15 points. So I think that when, if Connect and Zakai are firing on all cylinders, this team could do anything, in my opinion. You guys, any quick comments on the Norfolk State game about Zakai Ziegler or anything else?
Yeah, there was a fun Rick Barnes quote about just how Zakai shoots the three and people doubting his ability from behind the arc, and saying one day that he was just launching them and making just 90% of his NBA threes in practice. So it's great to see Zakai back. Shot 50% last night, 5 for 10 from three, obviously the 17 points that you said, Chloe. But is he all the way back? I don't know, but he looks really good, and I think Christmas break did him a lot of good things, because I think he was a little rusty, obviously, after such a brutal knee injury last year, and it was really late in the season as well. So if Zakai's on the court, this team is better, and that's what's great for this Tennessee team, because it's the deepest it's been, obviously ranked in the top 5, big deal. I think they have more weeks ranked in the top 10 under Rick Barnes than they did now in the previous 70 seasons. So Rick Barnes' tenure is really good during the regular season. Obviously, what we're all looking for now is, what's this team going to look like in February, in March, maybe even in the beginning of April. So obviously a blowout on a Tuesday night, nothing special about it, but here we go, guys. SEC plays on the way, and we'll really see what this team is made of here soon.
Yeah, one comment I wanted to say is it was 4 steals that Zakai Ziegler had, and he was at the top of the SEC the last couple of years in steals per game. I mean, he's one of the best people at stealing the ball away in the entire conference. So he's doing that. That just adds a whole other level to Tennessee's already elite defense.
Yeah, like to your point, you say is Zakai Ziegler back? I think so. We start thinking about the 3 of his last games. He has been one of the top scoring players on the team in every game. And I think right now he's proven to us that he's back and he's not taking it slow anymore. I think he's finally get the minutes that he wants and deserves. And I think he's taking control on all of that. And as we can see, I know it's like Norfolk, but I think this right here gets him ready for Saturday's game coming up. And I think Zakai Ziegler is going to be one of the leading scorers to pull them over the win on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. So that brings us to Saturday versus Ole Miss, home, or just the SEC home opener here in Knoxville. Should be really exciting. Ole Miss ranked number 22. They have Chris Beard as their head coach. They're doing pretty good. They're undefeated. However, obviously this is a game that I think the Vols need to look out for because Ole Miss is a good team. They pretty much dominated most of the teams that they've played this year. I mean, they have because they won, but it's been, it's been by pretty much a big margin for the most part. However, Ole Miss, in my opinion, they're undefeated, but they haven't played the teams like Kansas that we have. They haven't played They haven't played that. The best team they played, in my opinion, probably Memphis. NC State's a pretty good one as well. They beat them as well. But this Ole Miss team has not really played the top teams in the country like the Vols have. And for that reason, I think that this game is, definitely, if Tennessee doesn't slip up, they've had moments we saw with North Carolina and things like that, which was still a good game, but Tennessee still, made too many mistakes in those. I think that the Vols take this one. I think that it's going to be a good, nice, solid, comfortable win. Me personally. However, some other people think that the Vols, it's going to be close and they could trip up on this game. It's the SEC. You never know. What do you guys think?
I think this Ole Miss team has exceeded expectations. They've been spectacular this far. And Chris Beard is probably a big reason. He's a great head coach, obviously got into some trouble in Texas, but getting another chance down in Oxford. And the Rebels are going to come to play, no doubt about that. But Chloe said it. They haven't played anybody. Like, I'll just through the front door. They haven't played anybody because Tennessee has had a top 3, not 3, non-conference schedule this basketball season. And Devin, you talked about it earlier, SEC football, it's a gauntlet. The SEC play in basketball is a total gauntlet. You got to play somebody good every single weekend because everybody's going to play hard. You're going to play a close game every single weekend, no matter what. And to start off, Tennessee's got this undefeated Ole Miss team, but it's not like Tennessee hasn't been challenged. I think the Tennessee team that we're going to see on Saturday has been challenged more than anybody else in the country. Had to deal with Kansas, had to deal with Purdue, had to go to North Carolina. Are you kidding me? It's an amazing experience for this Rick Barnes team. And that's why I'm so excited for SEC play, so excited for this weekend, because I think the boys are going to be firing at home on Saturday. They haven't had a whole lot of games at home, and when they did play Illinois at home, it went well. And they went out firing. Dalton Connect's the man. So I'm expecting some big things on Saturday, and I think it's going to start the trend for SEC play for this Vols team.
Yeah, and to go off of that, Tennessee at home is just so good. I mean, you really have to have a great team if you're going to go on the road and beat the Tennessee Volunteers in Thompson-Boling Arena. And Ole Miss, they're number 22 in the country, 13-0. Chris Beard being their head coach worries me a little bit because we've seen how successful he's been at both Texas Tech and Texas. Obviously, he led Texas Tech to a national championship appearance. So he is a really, really darn good basketball coach. And this could be a physical defensive battle because he typically churns out amazing defenses during his time with the Red Raiders and the Longhorns, and now trying to do the same thing with the Rebels. So this could be a rock fight for sure. But at the end of the day, as Griffin just said, Ole Miss is, and Chloe has said as well, Ole Miss has literally played nobody. Memphis is a pretty good team, but that's nowhere close to what Tennessee has played so far. And Tennessee being the battle-tested team and the fact that they're at one of the best home environments in the entire country with one of the loudest and largest fan bases in the entire country, Tennessee, I do not see slipping up here.
I totally agree. I think Tennessee takes us by a mile. One, they got one of the best defenses in college basketball. Two, Ole Miss, like everyone been saying, they haven't played anyone. You know what I'm saying? And when you haven't played anyone and you have a team that has already had the early experience, they already know what to do differently coming into the game. So Ole Miss is trying to game plan as their first test, and Tennessee has already game planned for the past couple of tests that they already played. So I think Tennessee comes in. I think, like everyone said, the home environment goes crazy, pushes them over the edge. And I think Tennessee doesn't struggle at all. And I think they show themselves that they can compete against SEC teams and they can go further as the season goes.
Yes, absolutely. I agree for sure. I think this will be a good game. I'm glad it's at home as well. And I think the Vols, it'll be good. They'll put on a show for sure. I'm excited for SEC play. On the other side of things, we got the Lady Vols. They beat Liberty 90-55. Rakia Jackson is definitely back like she never left. 21 points in this one. And I'm am super excited to see what they do in SEC play. However, they do play Auburn. That is tomorrow night, and that's going to be away. So that's going to start off their SEC play. We talked about it last time that I was on this show before I went to Orlando. I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty nervous looking into these SEC games, but I think Jaquez, you were saying Rakia Jackson is back, and that's just so important for this team. And I think, we were kind of saying like this without Rakia Jackson, this team, they had some tough moments. They definitely had. They lost to MTSU. I think that's the lowest of the moments in that one. They went to overtime against Memphis, but Memphis is a pretty decent team. But this team definitely needs to have a winning record in the SEC, or else I'm not sure about the future for Kelly Harper here, honestly. But I think that they could definitely get some things done. Not a lot of these women's teams are ranked as of right now, but I think that the SEC, women's wise, is going to be very good this year. Obviously, you have South Carolina. You have LSU, who is number 7, but is still a pretty dang good team. And I think that a bunch of these women's teams are going to end up ranked come the end of the season, come March. Anyone's thoughts about Lady Vols going into SEC play, specifically Auburn? Auburn's pretty decent. They're 11-2 this year, but I think that it's still a winnable game for the Lady Vols. We'll have to see. It's away, so you never know.
It's the SEC. It doesn't matter if it's men's hoops, women's cross country. It doesn't matter. It's the studs everywhere conference. It's the SEC, and it's going to be a gauntlet no matter what. That's how it's going to work. And so they have to play an 11-2 Auburn team tomorrow. And even though Auburn's non-conference schedule might not be that great, they got to play a team with a really, really good winning record. And every game in the SEC, especially on the road, is going to be difficult. And Chloe, you said it. It wouldn't surprise me if Kelly Harper's seat is heating up just a little bit, because this Lady Vols team was not expected to be 7-5 at this point. And I know Rakia Jackson she's her. I mean, she's incredible. But this team outside of Rakia Jackson, with the history, with the good recruiting, with the team dynamic, they should be able to win basketball games without Rakia Jackson. And it's been a struggle up to this point, and all the offense runs through her. So I'm looking for Rakia Jackson, obviously, to take the lead, but the supporting cast to continue elevating. Caroline Striplin's been great. Sarah Puckett's been great. Everybody's been elevating their play, but when will this Lady Vols team turn the corner? Because unlike the Vols team that suffered a couple losses and stayed in that win column majority of the time, this Lady Vols team, in my opinion, is kind of playing this season and this SEC play from behind. They're sitting at 7-5, and they need to win a lot of basketball games. And that starts tomorrow night at Auburn.
Yeah, this game against Auburn does definitely make me nervous because Tennessee Lady Vols basketball, being the most historic women's basketball program, has never missed the NCAA tournament, as far as I know. I don't think they've ever missed it once.
They haven't. They've been in it every year since they've been a program.
Every single year
since there's been the tournament. I mean,
yeah, and if you lose, that's what I thought. And so if you lose to Auburn, though, you're 7-6. The conference has gotten much better over the years. It's not, as Chloe just said, it's not just South Carolina and LSU. There's a lot of good quality teams. Auburn is one of them. I'm very nervous that if Tennessee loses to Auburn tomorrow night, that they could miss the NCAA tournament for the first time in team history. We thought this may have been a possibility last year. Then Tennessee did fantastic in conference play and even got a huge upset against LSU. So we're like, oh, okay, they're perfectly fine. They're on the right track. Nothing to panic about. This is a really, really rough start, just like last season. And Auburn's a good team, and they're at home. They're feeling confident. And anytime you got the Tennessee logo on, everybody's going to be coming at you regardless because of your history. So I'm very nervous about this one. I think Auburn, it's going to be close. I hope Tennessee wins in a close one. I don't think it's going to be a blowout either way. I think it's going to be very close. But I do fear that, once it becomes clear that Tennessee isn't going to make it to the tournament, then Kelly Harper is going to be gone, and this program's going to have to massively reset.
A lot of people right now are worried about Kelly Harper and his team. I think my view is just a tad bit different. I think this team, number one, when we talk about recruits, they're not bringing in SEC type of recruits for them to develop right now, like these other schools like USC and LSU are bringing. I think Tennessee has brought in lower recruits that has to adjust to the SEC, because we got to think the SEC is a different ball game rather than you coming from a Division II school and stuff like that, or a school like Wofford. These schools don't play SEC teams on a weekly basis when we talk about conference. So I think Tennessee is going to hit a big stride on the back end of the season. I think they take the loss to Auburn, but I think Rickea Jackson shows them, since she's a veteran in the SEC, okay, listen, we have to find a way to come together as a team and be able to win these games. So I think as the season progresses, they are learning together. They are learning how to play together. And I think they will hit a good stride on the back end, but I don't think they win their first couple of games in the SEC.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tough over there for sure. Definitely agree with Griffin's point. Rickea Jackson, there needs to be other people stepping up as well. Just the way this Lady Vols team, the standard that they have for sure. So we'll see. We'll look into these SEC games, of course. We'll talk about this one on Friday. That's happening tomorrow. But we got to move on to NFL, the playoff picture heating up. 11 teams, I believe, still fighting for a playoff spot. So we'll see. We'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. Stay tuned. You're listening to Rock Solid Sports on Volunteer Radio, 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
The Rock thanks Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2023-24 home ice season from October through April includes games with Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets at KnoxvilleIceBears.com. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, "Go Ice Bears!"
WUTK thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting the Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the pregame and postgame location for UT football, and Knoxville's home for the NFL Sunday Ticket, Titans football on the big screen, and more. Rock Solid Sports kicks off Monday Night Football with the show's live broadcast from 7 to 8 Monday nights at Cool Beans. Cool Beans is 21 and over after 9 p.m. with a full and late night menu. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page.
Hey, this is Fred Schneider of the B-52s, and you're listening to The Rock, 90.3 in Tennessee.
Volunteer Radio remains on the air thanks to support from the UT Athletic Department. The 2024 baseball fall season runs February into May with games against SEC rivals Georgia, LSU, Missouri, and more at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Allballs.com. Students need to show a valid ID at the gate before entrance. Tune into Rock Solid Sports for UT baseball coverage, and The Rock wishes Coach Vitello and the Baseballs good luck on the diamond this season.
The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department and the Lady Vols basketball program for their support. Coach Kelly Harper and the Lady Vols 2023-2024 home schedule includes games against Notre Dame, Ohio State, SEC foes, and more. Allvols.com. Student ticket info is at bigOrangeTix.utk.edu. That's TIX. The Rock says, "Go Lady Vols."
Knoxville, be sure to tune in Wednesday nights from 8 until 10 p.m. for The Alternative, sponsored by Bliss and Corey Mason Shoes on Gate Street and in West Town Mall. And Bliss Home at the Gallery Shopping Center, also sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill Bar and Live Music Venue in the heart of Knoxville's Old City. The Alternative features 2 hours of the best in Americana music from the station who first brought Knoxville music by bands from back in the alt-country days, like the Jayhawks, Uncle Tupelo, Steve Earle, and Jason and the Scorchers, to 90s Americana like the V-Roys, Whiskey Town, Lucinda Williams, Sunvold, and others, to modern-day Americana musicians like Molly Tuttle, Tyler Childers, Casey Musgrave, Sturgill Simpson, Billy Strings, and the Punch Brothers. You'll also get classic Americana like Johnny Cash, the band, and Emmylou Harris, and there's always Patsy Cline at 9. Tune in Wednesday nights at 8 for The Alternative. Sponsored by Boyd's Chicken Grill, Bliss Home, and Corey Mason Shoes, and only on 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Welcome back into Rock Solid Sports. It's Wednesday night. I'm Chloe over at Fieldhouse Social, 2525 University Commons Way. That is our sponsor for tonight. We thank them for their support. They got trivia going on, huge TV behind me. Definitely a great place to watch all the sports going on that we have been talking about and more throughout this basketball and NFL playoff season. Let's get into NFL playoffs. Still some teams in the hunt here, including teams that will be playing on Saturday. We got the Steelers and the Ravens. The Ravens, of course, already locked in to the playoffs, but the Steelers are 9-7, so they are looking for a win in that one. And then the Texans and the Colts.
Let's go.
Yeah, looking for a win as well. Griffins, Indianapolis Colts looking for a win over the Texans to get into the playoffs. They're in the hunt, and with that win, they will be in the playoffs, I believe. So we'll talk about whichever. Let's start with the Colts, I guess. Texans and the Colts. Griffin, what are you looking for in this game for Indianapolis?
Yeah, I mean, let's
obviously
talk about
a win.
Yeah, well, obviously a win. It's so fun. Colts, Texans, primetime Saturday night. This is what you live for. They're both 9-7. Both teams were predicted to win 4 or 5 games the entire season. Both teams have first-year head coaches, and now they're fighting for a playoff spot. Just incredible stuff out of the AFC South. Obviously, I'm biased from Indianapolis. Love my Colts, but it's been pretty crazy what Shane Steichen and D'Amico Ryans have done with these two rosters in just 1 year. And what I'm looking for, Colts are playing in Indy. Go get the win. Feed off the home crowd. Gardner Minshew needs to limit the mistakes. And the Colts defense needs to limit C.J. Stroud, who missed several weeks and obviously has been the best rookie in pro football this year. I think you got to use Jonathan Taylor, use the offensive line, try to run down that Texans defense. But also, it's an interesting dynamic, guys, because Steelers-Ravens play at 4:30, and the Ravens aren't going to play their starters because Pittsburgh's favored in this game against the best team in the NFL. And so Steelers, Texans, Colts, those are the three teams fighting for the remaining playoff spot. They're all 9-7. Steelers play first. So if the Steelers lose and they go 9-8, I'm pretty sure the Texans and the Colts both make the playoffs no matter what. So the Steelers need to go win, and then the stakes rise even more. So it's going to be a really fun Saturday night of NFL football, and then obviously we'll get into it. Tons of fun games Sunday, especially Bills-Dolphins as well, just because we're talking AFC. Lots and lots of high implications here in Week 18.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Jacksonville Jaguars are also 9-7.
Yes.
So
if they lose,
a lot of what you're saying when it comes to these playoff spots also heavily depends on how the Jaguars do against the Tennessee Titans. Which, if you're a Titans fan, you know what, the season hasn't been all that great outside of an amazing Miami Dolphins win, but they have a chance to ruin the Jaguars' season, which would be fantastic. Now, obviously,
if we can't be happy, nobody can.
Exactly.
Well, what about the draft pick too, though? Draft pick implications? Are you trying to spoil? Like, I know you don't like the Jaguars, but are you trying to spoil their season? You're trying to elevate the draft pick? It's so complicated to be a Titans fan Week 18.
Titans are going to get a top draft pick anyways. The season was not that good, so it really doesn't matter. I'd rather see them beat the Jaguars and ruin their season because, not a huge fan. Of course, I'd also like to see the Colts lose too to the Texans there, but not a huge fan of either one of them. But really, that Texans-Colts game is going to be absolutely incredible. Griffin said it. The offensive line for the Colts is amazing. Jonathan Taylor's absolutely incredible. So realistically, with the home crowd, they should win. But gosh, C.J. Stroud is so much fun to watch. And that offense for the Texans has been amazing. One of the most exciting in the NFL. So I think it's going to be a back-and-forth game. I'm thinking Houston's going to pull out a very, very close one in that one. But I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I think this is an easy prediction. Colts versus Texans. I think Colts win. We gotta remember, C.J. Stroud doesn't have Tank Bell. Tank Bell is out for the season.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's C.J. Stroud, number one go-to receiver. Receiver this whole season. So I think the Colts take on this one.
Yeah. And then
go ahead.
Sorry, I was also going to say. Also, there's a funny. I don't know if you guys saw. I don't watch, the Pat McAfee show very often, but I did see this one clip where they're talking about the conspiracy theory about the Super Bowl matchups. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but the last couple of years they've included colors in the Super Bowl logos.
Yes.
Super Bowl 56 Super Bowl 56, the colors were orange and yellow, which were the Bengals and the Rams colors. Okay. Last year, the colors were green and red, which are the Eagles and the Chiefs logo. And again, they picked these colors long before the season even begins.
And this
year, it's the 49ers red color, their exact same red color, and the Baltimore Ravens exact same purple color. It's the exact same. And of course, those two teams are towards the top of their conferences. So if they go to the Super Bowl, I'm not going to lie, if it happens once, okay, it's a fluke. If it happens twice, maybe it's a fluke. If it happens 3 times, I don't know. That's a little sus, NFL. I'm not going to lie. That's really
It's the top 2 seeds in both conferences. The logo is red and purple. You can't make this up.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, and we got a little bit of preview of the Ravens and the 49ers right there on Christmas Day. But going off of that really quick with the time we have, everybody pick your game for Sunday. We kind of talked about the Saturday games. There's only 2, of course. I'll start off. I'm not going to pick this one. Yeah, I'll do the Falcons and the Saints. Those are 2 teams both fighting for a spot in the playoffs still. Both 2 teams that have had they're both still fighting the playoffs, but they haven't had the season they've quite wanted. I like watching the Saints sometimes. I like watching Kamara. So we'll see. I'll definitely be tuning into that one on Sunday at 1 p.m. I'll probably be at the Lady Vols game, but I'll be paying attention to it as well. That's my pick, and I'm probably going to have to take the Saints to win that one. You guys?
I'll take the layup. Give me the Sunday Night Football Bills-Dolphins game, the battle for the AFC East. I mean, I'm pumped for Texans Colts, but this game is a close second. It's option 1A for me because this game is going to have fireworks, going to be in Miami, and the Bills are on the rise. The Dolphins are like, who is this team? What can they do? It's going to be incredible. It's the fight for the division. I don't know who's going to win. Buffalo's favored on the road. It's unbelievable. That's the game I'm watching.
Yeah, my game I'll pick. I'm kind of cheating with this pick because I'm technically going to pick 2, but they both kind of go hand in hand. The Eagles at the Giants and the Cowboys at the Commanders. Why? Because both teams are 11-5. Both Cowboys and Eagles, I mean. Both teams are fighting for the NFC East. The Cowboys have been super dominant at home this year, but not the same team on the road. So if the Cowboys win the division and get to play at home in the playoffs, that gives them a really strong chance to make it to the Super Bowl. If not, because again, the loser of the division is going to have to go on the road in the wild card against a team like maybe the Saints or the Buccaneers. So those 2 games, getting home field advantage and winning the division, matter massively in the NFC.
Game of the week for me, I'm going Dolphins Bills, and I'm pulling for the Dolphins to pull it out.
Yes,
I think after last week of taking a loss to the Ravens, I think the Ravens punched them in the mouth, but I think the Dolphins will find a way to punch the Buffalo Bills back in the mouth after what they did to them earlier this season. So I'm excited for this game, and I'm riding with the Dolphins. Fins up.
Let's go. It's going to be an exciting weekend for sure. We'll talk more about it Friday and next week as well. Stay tuned. The Alternative is up next. You're listening to Volunteer Radio, 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.